What's good, y'all? Alex here. Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate y'all for tuning in today, as always. Want to go ahead and come on here and just get my few cents real quick, just talking about the Kings and some of the moves that they've made in the off-season. Kind of want to go ahead and have more of a podcast feel to this. No real specific agenda. Don't want to make this video too long, but not too short either. I guess we should go ahead and start at the beginning, right? Let's go ahead and talk about them picking up Mike Brown. The Kings picking up Mike Brown. Look at me already just all over the place. Y'all could tell I haven't done this in a long time. But we picked up Mike Brown. Fabulous pickup. You know, I either wanted him or Mark Jackson. So I'm happy we went ahead and stuck with Mike Brown. You know, he's proven himself as a coach. We saw what he did on the LeBron teams, you know, having them play well defensively. Brown kind of struggled a little bit on the Lakers, but, you know, that was kind of on Kobe's back end of his career. A lot of turmoil taking place on that side. But I think he's kind of really learned a lot since coming back on the bench to the Warriors under Steve Kerr. Really just understanding how to be a better coach, more of a player's coach, and also just obviously providing teams with the defensive tenacity that they need. I mean, we've seen the Warriors over the years and just how consistent they've been on the defensive side. And I'm really excited to go ahead and make that a staple point for the Kings, because obviously we all know the Kings year in and year out usually are one of the worst teams defensively. We've yet to really have a defensive-minded coach. A lot of the coaches we've had have always had kind of the mindset of let's outscore the team, or let's run and gun, or just not even having an identity at all. I still don't know really what Luke Walton's identity really was with this team. So I'm really just excited to at least have a coach who kind of is known for something other than offense or 7 seconds or less, or just something like that, you know. So I'm excited to see what Mike Brown can go ahead and bring for us. This roster isn't necessarily a defensive roster, to say the least. So I'm not saying that we're going to be like a top 10 team or top 15 team on the defensive side, but I think with some of the small signings that we've made, I think you will see much improvement. I think that you will, if nothing else, see a team that hustles harder for loose balls and just plays harder, you know, just as a unit. We saw too many times last year, this team, and years before that, this team just giving up. You know, they try hard for the first 10 games of the season, and then after that, they just crumble. So I'm really hoping that's going to be different. I guess with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the draft pick. Obviously, Keegan Murray being picked at number 4. When this pick first took place, you saw a lot of teams, or not, I shouldn't even say a lot of teams, but a lot of fans were kind of upset that they took Keegan Murray and not Jaden Ivey. You know, Jaden Ivey on the big board was considered to be the 4th best player available. You know what's funny, though? Where did Shadon Sharp come from? Because I didn't hear about bro all the way until the draft took place. So the fact that I was seeing him above Ivy in a lot of my mock drafts was kind of crazy to me. But nonetheless, I'm glad that we took Keegan Murray. And I think now, looking back, the fans are happy we took Keegan Murray as well after seeing what he can go ahead and do in Summer League. This guy who shot the ball lights out, like he just looked like he belonged to be on the NBA court. And I'm not really sure how much of that is going to translate right away from the Summer League to the actual NBA, obviously. But I think we can all at least agree, if nothing else, like, hey, this is a guy who deserves to go ahead and be on an NBA team and get quality minutes. So I'm hoping that we don't have too high of expectations. I really don't want this to be another Marvin Bagley situation, but I do think Keegan Murray can help this team out tremendously, especially being such a young player. He's a guy that, if all else fails and we decide to blow this roster up, I feel like we can kind of start the rebuild, which I hope we don't have to, but we could start the rebuild again under Murray. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Looks like a guy who could go ahead and shoot the ball well. Looks like defensively he's not even too bad either. I don't really want to put too many projections on him, but I do think that he will finish as one of the top rookies in this class, at least for a rookie of the year as far as that goes. I'm not saying he's going to be number 1. Obviously, we got the main stars, the Chets, Palos, Jabaris of the world. But I feel like he's definitely going to hold his own. And if the Kings can somehow, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if they can somehow sneak into the playoffs or into the play-in, we're really going to see his worth and his value right there. So, love the Keegan Murray draft pick. Let's talk about some of the other signings, though, that took place. You know, I guess we can go ahead and start with Kevin Herter, who I love. You know, I actually stay in Atlanta right now, so I got to see a lot of Atlanta Hawks games this season and last season. And I love Kevin Herter. You know, a lot of people, I think, feel like he's known just as a shooter, and he can shoot that ball, but he can also put the ball on the floor a little bit and get to the rim as well. So I'm excited just to see him on the court. I love him at the starting shooting guard over Buddy Hield, just because I feel like we're going to get a more complete player. He doesn't play make a lot, but he can play make a little bit. And defensively, he at least gives effort, which I didn't really see from Buddy Hield. I don't want to bash Buddy, but this is still an upgrade. And even nonetheless, if Kevin Herter is struggling, if he's not shooting his threes or he's kind of up and down, having a guy like Malik Monk, I think, is really, really something that this team needed. Just an energizing player, a young player, an athletic player. He can shoot the three, and he's just hungry. You can tell that Malik Monk is really just looking to prove himself. And I think that him deciding to come to Sacramento and pair with De'Aaron Fox is really going to work out well for us. I feel like us finally having a solid shooting guard, starting shooting guard, and coming off the bench shooting guard is just going to be huge for us. So I don't care if they start Herter and bring Monk off the bench, or if it's flipped the other way around. Both those guys are going to get minutes. Both those guys can also be secondary playmakers at times as well. And they both have some athleticism, which this team desperately needed. We needed guys that can bring some excitement to this team, bring some swag to this team, bring some toughness to the team. And I feel like those are some guys that can go ahead and do it. You throw in a guy like Harrison Barnes as well, just as more of a glue guy for this team. And I feel like everything's going to come together. And I didn't even talk about our two main stars, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. You know, I'm excited to go ahead and see, obviously, what that duo can do with a full year together. I was hurt that Monty traded Halliburton for Sabonis, but you know, I'm over that now. I'm happy and I'm ready to go ahead and see what this tandem can do. If Fox can go ahead and play at the level that he played at last year once Halliburton was traded, bro might low-key make an all-star team this year. I'm not even gonna lie. I know the West is stacked, but if he can take us to that next level, sky is the ceiling for this team. For De'Aaron Fox, I should say. Let me go ahead and not say for this team. I'm not getting super hype on this team at all, but I'm just saying, you know, we're heading in the right direction nonetheless. So I'm happy with Fox. I'm happy with Sabonis and what they can bring to the table. Even some of the lower level signings that we've made were just good quality signings. You know, signing a guy like Matthew Dellavedova just to go ahead and see him compete for that third point guard spot. Seeing a Quinn Cook also compete for that third string point guard spot. These are guys who are both champions for one. Two, they're hungry just to go ahead and make an NBA roster. And three, they're veterans at this point, so they can go ahead and help a Davion Mitchell as he tries to develop as well into more of a point guard, I guess you should say. So I love those signings. Obviously, the Bazemore pickup, I like that as well, coming off the bench. And I like the hustle guys that we have as well. The Davion Mitchell's, obviously, we know what type of lockdown defender he is. But if he can just continue to grow as just an actual point guard as well and be a better playmaker, is going to be huge for us. I hope that jump shot is improved a little bit as well. 3-point jumper, because his mid-range is actually pretty decent. And then we still have athletic guys like Chimezie Metu as well. We still have Rashawn Holmes. I haven't even talked about Rashawn Holmes either. So, you know, this team has a lot more depth than we've had in the past. And I feel like this team is just a lot more balanced overall. You know, we have guys that we can identify just as shooters. We have guys who you can identify as defenders. We have guys who you can identify just as your high flyers, like the Metus of the world. But Mitchell can also finish at the rim pretty well. I don't know if you guys remember that dunk he had in Houston, but bro isn't too bad. And I haven't even brought up Terrence Davis just yet. So, like, there's a lot of just interchangeable players that we have this year that we really haven't had in the past. And I'm really looking forward to see kind of what this roster has in store and what these guys can do. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is a team that's going to go ahead and compete for the playoffs. I'm not saying that at all. I'm definitely not saying that. But what I am saying is this is a team that I can see winning 5-6 games more this year than last year. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm looking at that as a success. I think that we have to do a better job as just Kings fans in general of stop just saying, this is the year we make the playoffs. Let's go ahead and just throw a whole bunch of players together and just hope that we can go ahead and build something. No, let's go ahead and build from the bottom, as much as I hate to say it, but let's go ahead and build something organically. Let's go ahead and not just throw players who are way past their prime on the team and just see what we can do, but let's see what this roster can do. So I'm really excited to go ahead and see what's in store for these guys. Like I said, I'm not expecting playoffs. It's going to be hard because the West is so deep, especially when you look at teams like the Clippers, who are going to be fully healthy. They didn't even make the playoffs last year. Lakers are going to be fully healthy. They didn't make the playoffs last year. Who else am I forgetting? New Orleans. You have to assume that they're going to be much better this year with Zion, and they made the play-in last year. So Blazers with Dame coming back. The only teams that made the playoffs last year that you could see falling out this year is the Jazz, obviously, depending on the Mitchell situation and what happens there, and the Spurs, obviously. We know they're in full tank mode. But other than that, it's going to be hard for the Kings to kind of just automatically jump over those guys, even if everything goes right this season. But with that being said, going into the following season, I definitely can see us being a team that does make the playoffs and compete at that point. So I'm looking at this season as more of a foundation. Let's go ahead and build an identity. Let's go ahead and establish ourselves as more of a defensive team and just a more well-rounded team just in general. And then next year I can really see us competing for that playoff spot. And who knows, Fox might take that next step to really be an all-star. Sabonis, we know, has been an all-star in the past, so maybe he's able to go ahead and make an all-star team as well. And, Kings are back to at least somewhat relevancy and not really looked at as the laughingstock of the league anymore. So I'm excited for the team. Keegan Murray, excited for that. Excited for the signings that have taken place. The big one, well, we didn't really have any big signings, but the major signings that we had and some of the lower signings that we have as well, just for teams, just for players just competing for the last roster spot. I'm just excited with the direction of this team, y'all. So that's really all I had. Just wanted to go on here and just give my thoughts real quick on what I expect this season. Let me know what you guys think. If you like this video, let me know. Just let me know that you like this video. I'm going to leave it at that. It's Alex. I'll see you next time I'm out. Peace.